Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AZFAR bin Muhammad ZAKI. My metric number is 1191399. So, my group will present about the Muslim scholar contribution in psychology. For introduction, psychology in Islam in use in everyday practices but under different guises, such as spiritualism. In Islam values the importance of good mental health and emotional well-being. The Quran can be used as a guide to those suffering from emotional distress and aims to lead people to a meaningful quality of life. There is no disease that Allah has created except that He also has created its treatment. Sahih Al-Bukhari, narrated by Abu Hurairah. In this video, we will explain the Muslim scholar contribution in psychology. Among them are Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, Al-Razi, and Ghazali.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Fauzan bin Adnan. My tweet number 1192678. Inshallah, today I will share about our great Muslim scholar in psychology, which is Imam Al-Farabi. His real name is Abu Nasir Muhammad ibn Al-Farah. Al-Farabi, also known as Al-Farabius in the West, made a huge contribution to the line of dream, psychology, and social psychology. He related how an isolated individual could not achieve things by himself and that humans have an innate tendency to associate themselves with others around and the importance of neighborhood. He, Al-Farabi, also wrote about the nature and causes of dreams, an important concept in psychoanalysis, in his book, which is Al-Madinah Al-Fadilah, the Virtuous City. He elaborates on the philosophy of happiness. Al-Farabi, like other philosophers, also gives explanations and review for the Greeks' independent treatise and rejection on the philosophers and theologians. Many for his works are considered as the crown of his intellectual works, and etc. And finally, he came to a conclusion that in order to achieve what he can of that perfection, that every man needs to stay in the neighborhood of others and associate with them.
Panic is half of the disease, serenity is half of the medicine, and passion is the beginning of healing. That is quote from Ibn Sina. When a person having an anxiety, his body produces corticosteroid hormone in excess. This hormone is known to reduce the number of lymphocyte cells, while the lymphocyte itself is an important component of the immune system. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Quran, Surah Ar-Ra'd, verse 28, which is the meaning, those who have belief and whose heart are assured by the remembrance of Allah. Unquestionably, by the remembrance of Allah, hearts are assured. Ibn Sina discovered a science known as psychosomatics, which is the connection between psychology and health. Ibn Sina has also explained the importance of emotion in recovering individuals who suffer from psychological disorders. His deep interest in the field related to the effect on the body caused many of his work to cause psychological disorders. Ibn Sina, a father of medicine, has highlighted the initiative of psychological medicine to the world, which is also Allah's command in His Holy Kitab. This is Quranul Karim. Wallahu a'lam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Azim HAZIQ bin ZULKARNAIN. My metric number is 1922690. Today I will present about contribution of Al-Razi in psychology. The first is their biodata. The name is Abu Bakar Muhammad ibn Zakaria Al-Razi. He was born in Al-Ray, a town in the southern slopes of Elbrus mountain near present-day is Tehran, Iran. He born in 251 Hijrah, but he lived in Baghdad. He died in Baghdad in the 312 Hijrah. He was a mathematical, medicine, philosophy, astronomy, chemistry, logic, and literature. He was knowledgeable in surgical procedures. He invented the surgical sutures known as CAT and GUT. He was the first who created the mercury ointment, and he also diagnosed measles, smallpox, and venereal diseases. The next is the Al-Razi contribution. The first is Al-Razi introduced the concept of psychiatric wards as a place to care for patients and mental illness. The second is, according to his view, mental disorder should be considered as and treated as medical condition. The third is, Al-Razi described the depression as a melancholic obsessive compulsive disorder, which is triggered as a result of changes in blood flow in the brain. Among the first write about mental illness and psychotherapy. The fourth is, some volume of his work, Al-Mansuri, namely on surgery, and a general books on therapy, become part of the medical curriculum in Western universities. The fifth is, has been described as the doctor, the father of pediatrics, and the pioneer in ophthalmology. The lastly is, became known as unchallenged chief physician of the Muslim, the Arab gallant, and the most brilliant genius of the Middle Age.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I'm FARHAN RIZAL bin PARJO. My matric number 1191368. I will talk about the contribution of Muslim scholars, that is Imam Al-Ghazali, about his contribution in psychology. The great scholar, that is Imam Al-Ghazali, who wrote the famous book of Ihya Ulumuddin, which pointed out that children were naturally egocentric. His Islamic psychology proposed that children's desires rarely included to the potential consequences to others. Imam Al-Ghazali also believed that fear was a learned condition and taught to children or gained through negative experiences. The next contribution of Imam Al-Ghazali, he was a firm believer that introspection and self-analysis were the keys to understanding mental issues and unlocking hidden reasons. Very tentatively, one wonders how the influence of Eastern mysticism affected this particular method of self-assessment, a technique that Imam Al-Ghazali used upon himself. The next contribution of Imam Al-Ghazali, Imam Al-Ghazali also brought into the history of psychology the idea of needs, proposing that the human personality had urge to fulfill certain desires based upon hunger and anger. Hunger drove such emotions as sexual urge, thirst, and hunger, with anger drove rage, frustration, and revenge. This division is very crude, certainly when compared to relatively modern ideas such as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it did provide some guidelines toward categorizing mental constructs.
For conclusion, Islamic psychology is a branch of psychology that is based on Islamic belief and principle. The main goal of Islamic psychology is to understand and explain human behavior and mental processes in context of Islam. The main focus is on the spiritual and more dimensions of human life and their impact on mental health. Islamic psychology also emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and self-control in achieving a balanced and fulfilling life. Overall, Islamic psychology offers a unique perspective on the human mind and behavior that is deeply rooted in the principle and value of Islam. So that's all from us. Thank you very much.